Welcome to Redemption Radio, facing life's tough issues with therapeutic and biblical wisdom. Redemption Radio is a Christian counseling ministry. Our hosts and guests will share their experience and knowledge as they explore everyday challenges facing today's Christians. Redemption Radio is sponsored by Calvary Addiction Recovery Center, a leader in faith-based recovery for over 47 years. And now, the hosts of Redemption Radio, Jeff Durbin and Larry Solomon.
What's up, y'all? This is Redemption Radio. Your host, Jeff Durbin, right here on KPXQ. Welcome to the show. I got in the studio with me, Pastor Luke Pearson, the Ministry Bear. What's up, man?
What's going on?
And also, we got our wonderful sidekick, Joy Temby. What's up, Joy?
Hi there.
All right, guys, so we are on today with a really special broadcast. If you've been catching the shows, we know we have a huge following from all over the world. Actually, it's true, we get random emails from everywhere. But if you've been listening to our shows, you know that over the last couple months, we've done a few shows on atheism. We actually went to the Reason Rally, which was billed as the largest gathering of atheists and secularists in world history. And so we went there. We filmed a documentary for Apologia Church. We went out there, did some dialogues. Those dialogues are available and up at on YouTube, and you just type in Jeff Durbin, Reason Rally. You should pull a few of those down and look at kind of what we did out there. We also did a show when we returned, commenting on one of the speeches given at the Reason Rally by Penn Jillette. Was that Penn? Yeah, Penn Jillette at Gillette, like the razor blades. What's up, Gillette? Penn Jillette, he gave a speech. We worked through that. Joy was with us on that episode. And so we also had Dan Barker on, president from the Freedom from Religion Foundation, and that was a good episode. And so in doing all of this, we started getting emails. We got some mad emails from a guy named Brett Strong, known as Be Strong. You know, Pastor Luke, when I think about that, I'm a little jealous. Like, I think I need a stage name.
He has a really good name.
He does. What's up, Be Strong?
It's J. Wayne Durbin.
Yeah, J. Wayne Durb. J. Dub Durb. I don't know, dude. Like, you think of, like, the Mafia. They would have, like, hey, how you doing? This is Tony. Hey, it's Tony Spaghetti. How you doing? Donnie Cannoli. I got Danny Two-Step. I have, like, Jeffrey. Like, my name's Jeffrey. Hey, I'm Jeffrey. Not scared. Like, if I go into a fight, people are like, what's his name? Jeffrey? You got him, dude. Easy.
That's their first mistake.
So what we have on the show today, a guy who sent us a bunch of emails. He actually was on an episode of Unbelievable radio program. I think it was actually the most popular and most downloaded episode they had. Be Strong, Atheist on Unbelievable with Justin Briley. You're unbelievable. Premier Christian Radio. And so Brett was on, and Brett contacted us, sent us some mad emails, and said that, hey, he wanted to be on the episode with us, and so we are going to have him on. And Brett, are you on the air now?
Yes, I am.
All right, Brett. So we're excited to have you on the show today. Why don't you tell us where you're from, Brett?
I'm from Florida.
From Florida?
West Palm Beach, Florida.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And so tell us about yourself. Like, I mean, how did you get on an episode of Unbelievable Radio? Because it was a pretty interesting show, and you were able to get on a pretty popular Christian radio show. How'd you do that? How'd you get involved?
Well, I sent Justin Briley a book of mine. It's called The New Testament of Jesus is a Fictional Character. He read it, liked it, and said, let's do a show about it, and that was it. Okay.
And so you wrote a book. And what's the name of the book again?
Oh, it's on my blog. It's called Jesus is a Hoax.blogspot.com. And the book is called The New Testament Jesus is a Fictional Character.
Okay, and I know that you're actually going to be on an episode with my boy Vocab Malone actually pretty soon here, doing an episode on that issue. And so you were on the show actually, and we wanted to pull you on. We don't really even have anything necessarily prepped. We just wanted to have a dialogue and discussion with you. You're an atheist, and someone asked you a few of the things that you believe, so we can sort of have a way to go through a discussion here on the show. I asked you just sort of like, lay out a few of the things you believe. And you said something, a few things at least. You said, number one, you believe that there is no morality. Is that correct?
Yes.
So there's no morality, there's no oughts. And you also said that we are just animals.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're animals, just like a dog or a cat or a lion. We're just different species of animals. Okay. And so primates, whatever you want to call it.
All right. Given that those at least those kind of basic beliefs and that understanding of where you're coming from, when you sent me that, it was peculiar to me, to be honest with you, because I listened to the Unbelievable radio program, and one of your first sections of discussion you had with Justin and JT was you in talking about Paul. You said the Apostle Paul was a lunatic. He was crazy, and
Madman.
Yeah, he was a madman. He's nuts. And so you gave a discussion of how Paul was going into houses, and he I think you described it as, Justin, imagine this. Imagine a guy kicks in your door one time, and he pulls out your wife, and he pulls her into the night screaming like a pig or squealing like a pig.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's 100% correct.
Okay, and you have a problem with that?
Well, that's like you right now saying Charles Manson is your leader. I mean, to sit there and say, well, yeah, this guy kicked in my door, he chained my wife up, took her off by a horse, had her whipped in public just to denounce her beliefs, and a couple of years later you come to me and say, yeah, that guy who did that, he's now my leader. He is now my go-to guy for religion. That, to me, is crazy. I would say not only is the guy crazy, but you're crazy.
Okay.
Let's call a guy who admitted that he's a murderer.
Let's do that. Well, let's Brett, let's do that. Let's do that. Brett,
that's kind of odd to me.
Brett, you got a dialogue here. You got to let me get a word in here. So what I meant to ask you was, given what you've already said on the show, that foundationally you believe there is no morality and we're just animals. My question to you would be this. Say I grab onto what you said. I stand on it, okay? Get that little platform underneath me. There's no morality, and we're just animals. And then you tell me, as the one who's given me that, and I've stood on what you've told me, you tell me now that you have a problem with an animal dragging another animal out squealing like a pig.
Yeah, I do.
Why?
That's my personal, because we're autonomous beings, right?
We're what now?
We're autonomous. We're individuals. But we have to protect our own. Now,
well, autonomous it essentially means free, so we're free individuals. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, and to oppose on that takes away from that freeness of self.
There's no but Brett, there's no morality. Brett, there's no morality. You've given me that.
No, I didn't say it's not reality.
No, morality.
I didn't say it was morality.
Brett, you said there was no morality, is what you said. No morality, right?
Hang on, what's that noise?
Sorry.
There's no morality.
So there's no morality, and now you're telling me what I ought not to do.
Yeah, human flourishing. I mean, you don't have to listen to me. At the end of the day, it just comes down to my point of view.
Right, so it's just arbitrary. So your atheism has led you to just pure arbitrariness and subjectivity. So it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter that the Apostle Paul, according to you, was this vicious and nasty man, because you've already said there's no morality. So really, I mean, are we wasting time here? I mean, even discussing this? I mean, are we just sort of beating the air? I mean, I reject what you say. I mean, I think the reason why it was wrong for the Apostle Paul to be persecuting Christians is because you're made in the image of God, so am I, and so was Paul, and so there's more to those people than simply animals, and so it is wrong, given my worldview, to drag a person out of their house squealing like a pig, because she's really not a pig, but according to you, she is.
That's wrong. Okay, cool.
Given my worldview, a biblical worldview, which you're borrowing from, yes, it is wrong. But given what you just told me, that we're just animals and there's no morality, it isn't wrong.
Well, it's wrong to go out and just kill an animal.
No, you said wrong. Brett, there is no wrong. There's no oughts. Wrong doesn't exist in your worldview. You've already taken that away from me.
Yes, it does. Right and wrong does exist in my worldview.
Thank you. Let's start right there.
I count it as me using my common sense. My common sense, I am using my intelligence to decide right and wrong. But there's no morality per se that we all have some morality that we must abide or not abide by.
Okay, let's try this. Let's try this. You say there is right and wrong. We need to use our heads, and we need to actually hold to things that are right to do and wrong, and not do things that are wrong to do. And then you tell me that there's no morality.
There is no morality. I mean, if you want to call it morality, then that's you. Me, I do not call it morality. I call it common sense.
Common sense. Okay, so let's.
When you say morality, you're saying that we all have the same exact right or wrong within us. Am I correct?
Well, I think there's an objective. Well, there is an objective standard, and that's God. See, as a Christian, I have an objective standard to appeal to. I have God in His very nature and who He is, and He's revealed Himself to us. So actually, given my worldview, I actually have an objective standard by which to appeal to. And so given that, I can have certainty about what is good and what is evil because I have the very ultimate standard of what is good by which to measure what is wrong. So when I see, say, somebody going into someone's house, dragging them out like you said, squealing like a pig in the night, which I think is actually, I think, verbatim what you said, I can say that is wrong because God is love. We're made in his image. Love does no harm to its neighbor. That's immoral. But given what you've already told me, there is no good, there is no evil, there's just what happens.
No,
we're just animals.
There is good and there is evil. What I'm saying is that there is arbitrary. It's not.
So why are you complaining?
But my point is this. You're claiming that's a Christian morality. That is not true for Christians. Because if Christians had morality, then Christians wouldn't enslave the black people of the South and whip them and murder them and rape them in the name of God.
Well, first of all, let's go there. Let me answer that.
Christians burn witches on the stake.
Now let's watch this.
About morality, Christendom, you don't have it because Christendom itself refutes itself.
Okay, Brett, let's try this. Let's try this. When I hear about a person who's professing faith in Christ, who's actually abusing people, being evil, enslaving black people, raping people, if you know, we'll pretend for a moment that all those things are actually put out there the way that you put them. When I see that, I say, well, here's a person who professes faith in Christ. They say they're standing on a biblical worldview. What they're doing is inconsistent with what they're standing on. In other words, they're going against their own objective standard. I have a way to measure what they're doing as evil. You don't. You stand in a worldview where there is no God, there is no guidance, there is no governance, we're just animals, and there's no morality. And so there's really nothing wrong with what a person does, even if they were saying they're a Christian, hurting somebody, doing something evil. You have no moral objection against that.
Well, back to what you just said.
Well, no, Brett, I need you to answer that.
Hang on.
Brett, you
would say that they were not following their Christendom, their Christ, whatever. That is not true because those same Christians would tell you, Jeff Durbin, that no, you're wrong, that they're right to violate these people and do it in the name of God and Jesus. And you know that I'm telling the truth.
Well, Brett,
so
actually, you're incorrect, and I'll give you what it
true.
says. I'll give you what it says, Brett. God is love. Love does no harm to its neighbor. And there's no way to get around that, Brett. See, I have an objective standard by which to appeal to. You're an animal speaking words. You have noises coming out of your mouth right now as an animal who says there's no morality, and yet you're complaining about what one bag of biological stuff does to another. And I would say that really displays the inconsistency in your atheism. So we will be right back. Next segment with Be Strong. Be Strong. Luke, you need to think before the show is over of a special name for me. Okay, we'll be on the show. We'll be right back with Redemption Radio with Brett Strong, atheist from Jesus is a Hoax, blogspot.com. Radio right here, 1360 KPXQ in the studio today with my boy Luke Pearson.
Yo.
It's so funny looking at you across the way because I can't really see your face. All I see is a flowing beard coming out from underneath the microphone.
That's awesome. That's a good picture.
Yes, and then we also have Joy Timby. What's up, Joy?
Hi there.
And we're on the show today. It's a really cool episode we're having. I hope you guys are enjoying it. We're having a friendly discussion with Be Strong. Our friend from JesusIsAHoax.blogspot.com was on a really popular episode of Unbelievable radio program. Sorry, trying to work out my computer right here at the same time I'm talking. So, Brett, welcome back to the show, bud.
Yep, I'm here.
All right, man. And so you're in Florida right now?
No, I'm in Ithaca, New York.
Ithaca, New York. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say that if I come to New York, we can hang out but we just can't buy a 32-ounce soda.
Absolutely. I don't drink soda anyway, so water's good for me.
I mean, isn't there a new law being started in New York right now about like no sodas over 32 ounces? You guys don't know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just lost the whole thing. I'm supposed to be funny, and I'm the only person in the studio that understands the joke. You can't buy a soda over 32 ounces is what they're trying to propose.
Huh.
So Well, Brett, we're back on the show, and so we left off just discussing and I'll tell you, Brett, where I'm coming from. I believe that God is the necessary precondition to all that we do or think, and so the struggle that I have listening to you, and you seem like a really, really nice guy, to be honest with you. I mean, you're funny, and I actually enjoy listening to you. Obviously, I have very serious disagreements with you, but when I listen to you, I struggle because what I hear is a person that I'm trying to listen to, and I want to try to get where you're coming from. But when I hear you talk, I see just inconsistencies with what you're saying and then what you're doing. Like, for example, we just talked about the issue of, you complaining about what the Apostle Paul was doing and before his conversion to Christ, before he was made alive and before he was reconciled to God, where he was doing evil things. And I would say that Paul would probably be the first one high-fiving you and agreeing with you. As a matter of fact, he calls himself the chief of sinners. So he acknowledges that. But in my worldview with God's revelation, I have a reason to say something is evil. But when I try to take what you give me, and you tell me that we're just animals and there's no God and there's ultimately no guidance, no governance in the universe, and we're just animals and there's no morality, and then I hear you complaining about what one bag of stuff does to another, I just see an inconsistency.
No, I don't. I'm using my intelligence. See, there's no morality, but we have intelligence. We have intelligence to reason, right? We have intelligence to make our own assessment. Now, whether you agree with my assessment, that's your issue. But we are individuals of intelligence. We're animals.
What if a
rapist? We're the
rapist?
most intelligent animal in the world.
What if a rapist?
When I say right or wrong, I'm basing that off of my intelligence.
Okay.
And my intelligence says that if your leader is a guy who murdered people, whipped people, watched a man get stoned, my intelligence says to me that that's crazy. Now, morale, there is no morale because if there was a worldwide morale, we wouldn't need laws of America. We wouldn't need lawyers. There's a reason why we have laws, because we don't agree on much things. There's a reason why we have lawyers, because we don't agree on much things.
Wait a minute, Brett, I gotta stop you there. I gotta stop you there 1 second. The reason you're saying,
there is no morality.
Brett, you're saying that the reason we have laws is because we don't agree?
No. We don't have morality. If we all have the same morality as you say,
okay, well, you say your morality.
The
Brett,
reason why
your
we have
morality
laws because we're not on the same page on most things.
Okay, Brett, are we on the same page? Is it wrong to rape a woman?
Yes, intelligently.
Who says
that is wrong?
Who says?
Absolutely, you're violating another individual.
Okay, ready, Brett?
Yes.
Your intelligence tells you that it is wrong, but the rapist's intelligence tells him that he wants to do it, and it's a good moral thing to do. So
Absolutely.
who's right? You or him?
Well, see, this is the point. That since we're individuals, it ultimately comes down to each individual. The saying,
should the rapist
right?
Yeah.
So,
should the rapist go to jail?
Hang on 1 second.
Okay.
I'll give you a second to speak. Slavery. Right? Let's take it back to your Christendom. Slave masters raped the women. They raped the girls. In their minds, they were morally correct. They were morally right. Right? But they were able to get away with it because they had the might. Now the mic has switched up and saying if you rape a woman in America, you will be put in prison.
So it's not really wrong.
Today,
so given your
Brett, to might. It's always been that way, Jeff Durbin.
Brett,
it'll always be that
Brett,
way.
You
and
gotta,
you know it because Christendom
Brett.
shows it in the black slavery.
Brett, if
in
you don't
America.
let me get a word in, we're just going to have to take you off the show. This has to be a dialogue. Brett, when you bring up an issue, I want to make sure we get a chance to touch that. So what you're saying is that the society, first you said it was your own intelligence that determines the norm, and then you said the society determines the norm. So which is it? Is it personal preference or is it societal conventions? Which is it? Because those are two different things.
It's a personal preference. But when you get the majority of people agreeing upon a certain thing, then that becomes the law of the day. So
okay, so what you're saying then, I'm trying to reason through what you're saying in a coherent way. First, you said it was personal preference. Then you said it was societal convention. So if it's societal convention, then that means you're saying that society determines what is good or bad, what's evil or not evil. And so if that's the case, then given that, it's not really wrong to rape a person, is it?
If the society one lives in allows it, then you can do it. That's just the way it is.
Thank you very much. So your atheism has led you to a worldview where rape is not really wrong, theft is not really wrong. There are no real objective standards of good or evil. You really are actually displaying now the ultimate outcome of atheism, that it leads to no foundation, coherent, cogent foundation for morality. because it's just what someone wants to do. For example, given your atheism, what you've just given me, I have no moral complaint against Hitler. Hitler had the might to do what he did. The German people went along with him. They thought the Jews were non-persons. They look like people. They're not people. They're Jews. And based on that, he was fine. Correct?
Oh, yeah. In his society, he was fine. Absolutely.
Right. So that's good. So
but
I appreciate, though, the one thing I do respect about what you just answered is that you are being honest with where your atheism brings you. But here's what I'm going to say to you, Brett. You won't live that way.
Yes, I do live that way. You have to live that way.
You won't live that way. Brett, if someone came into your house right now, kicked your door in, and pulled your wife out like a screaming pig, would you call the police?
I'd kill him on the spot.
Why?
No, I would murder him or be murdered. Because
given your atheism, Brett, given your atheism,
one's intelligence. I am the head of my household. I am the protector of my house. That is my duty. Now, if someone comes in and decides differently, I have the right to rape your wife, then okay, if you feel that way, then you must kill me or be killed.
Right, but there's no real standard there.
Right.
What you're acting like, though, the thing that you're acting like you, your wife, me, others actually have value and dignity, which needs to be upheld in some way. But you don't believe we're created in God's image. You believe we're just animals, like pigs or ants or dogs.
We are animals.
So where's this arbitrary standard? Where's this arbitrary standard? Is that suspended in the air somewhere? Like, where do I get the idea that human beings have value? Where do I get that idea that human beings have value and dignity that you're giving them? You're ascribing
your intelligence. Your intelligence.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's do that next.
Not to morale, but it comes down to intelligence. That's what it comes down to.
To morale?
Do you want to use your common sense or not? That's all it is. It's very simple.
Brett, I'm trying to make sure I can reason through this with you in a respectful fashion. To morale. When you say morale, what do you mean? You mean morality?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Morality. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
We all have
I gotcha.
a standard within ourselves, and I'm saying we don't. Reality says no. Fantasy world, you, Jeff, yes. In fantasy world, we all have morals.
We'll get you after the break, Brett. We'll see you after the break. Yeah, that's cool, right?
Good.
See, Luke on the last show he was on with me, he got to pick the music, and it was like Lion King. And
Okay.
I know there was a reason.
Yeah.
There was a reason. Go. You can explain the reason.
Well, it's because I was talking about my grandparents who were missionaries in Africa.
That's
so
right.
African
It made
song.
sense. I'm messing with him because it was.
You actually complimented it.
I did. It was. Absolutely. It was awesome music. It was perfect. But I'm just teasing because here I got my dubstep flowing and he was playing Lion King. So we are back on the episode, and I hope you guys are again enjoying the show. We got our friend Brett Strong on the show. He's an atheist, and we were discussing some issues related to atheism and Christianity and morality. And Brett, I do appreciate you coming on the show, man. Again, I think that's as much
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we might have it on again in the future because it's hard to get a lot into a 145-minute show. But, given where we've been talking, we talked about morality. We talked about it is the person's preference that determines morality, given, you believe there's no God. So you would have really no ultimate standard of good or evil. And you've granted that. So it's personal preference or it's societal convention.
Correct.
And so, but then you did say something that piqued my curiosity. You said you determine these things using your intelligence. Could you tell me what you mean by that?
Your intelligence, your common sense. Intelligent.
Where's this standard?
Your ability to decipher information from your five senses.
From your five senses. So
senses, and use your reasoning skills. You take your five senses, and then you use your reasoning skills, and then you test it against reality.
So
I may think something is reasonable, whatever, or it is right or just, but until I test it in reality, it just stays circular. So reality is the one to let me know if I'm reasoning correctly or not. I am not, me, the human conscious being, I am not the one who decides if it's really right or wrong or it works or not. Reality is the true test of all dogmas, of all beliefs, of all reasons.
So it's interesting because what you sound like you're saying is that outside of ourselves there are objective universal, necessary laws related to
Absolutely.
say, okay, all right,
Absolutely.
let's do that. So say you talk about using your reason. So do you believe that laws of logic are universal?
Well, it depends. Universal, but there's different levels because if somebody has a brain injury or somebody has some mental, like autism, deep autism or something, a person can't reason at a certain level. So it depends on your brain.
Okay,
If
so
you brain damage, a brain damaged person can't reason at that level as you and I can, who have seemingly a healthy brain.
I think you're misunderstanding my question. When you said that laws of logic are out there in reality and they're necessary, we all have to hold to those things. A person's holding to them or not is really irrelevant because you've said that they're out there. They're not just in here.
No, not out there. I mean, out there in each individual.
Okay. So you believe that laws of, let's say, laws of logic or reasoning, that those exist in human brains?
Inside I don't know. It comes inside. Well, first of all, everything has logic, reasoning. Plants, animals, bacteria, viruses, everything uses some type of logic, some type of reasoning.
Really? Okay. So where is the law of non-contradiction in, say, a cell? Where would I find it? Can I cut it out?
Well, first of all, I don't know because that part is immaterial. But if you look at trees, right? Trees know when to drop their leaves, and they know when to leave themselves for summer. Trees also know how to find water through their roots.
I've actually never heard anybody describe laws of logic. I never heard anybody describe laws of logic in this way, that trees hold to laws of logic. And so where this how in this thing that you've given us, how do we answer, say, laws of logic? Are they immaterial laws that are conceptual in nature, or are they material in nature?
Immaterial.
They're immaterial. So how does your...
you can't see logic. You can't weigh logic. You can't say, give me an ounce of logic. So they're immaterial.
Okay, so if you can't touch it, taste it, smell it, grab it, weigh it, find out what color it is, then how is it in a tree?
What was that you just said?
Then how is it in a tree? You said it's the tree appeals to this. So
but the tree has its own logic. That's how a tree knows how to leaf itself. Like when wintertime comes, trees lose their leaves. Summertime comes, springtime, they put their leaves back up because wintertime, the snow hits it will destroy the tree.
Hey, it's interesting. It's interesting that you're
leaves because not we're going to lose our own life. So however that works. They have their own intelligence, their own logic, and if they don't use their logic, then the tree dies. So trees have their own logic. That's common sense. That's common sense.
We'll let that stand on its own weight. And so we will be back right after this little short break with more of Atheist Brett Strong right here on Redemption Radio with Luke Pearson, Joy Temby, and Jeff Durbin. We'll see you after the break. Don't go anywhere. Right here in the studio at KPXQ. We're on the show today, and I know you're loving it, with atheist Brett Strong from JesusIsAHoax.blogspot.com. You'll be able to pull up these episodes on redemptionradio.podbean.com. Go check them out. And even I would encourage you guys to go check out the episode of Unbelievable that Brett was on with Justin Brierley. Unbelievable Radio. It's Brett Strong. And check out that last episode. Really popular show. And so we're back. And we've been discussing some issues related to atheism and Christianity. And so, Brett, the question I wanted to ask you was, it's interesting. I never heard anybody actually describe laws of logic in this way. That most people would say that laws of logic are obviously conceptual in nature. They're more abstract laws. They are immaterial. But here's the question I would ask you. Are laws of logic in your atheist conception, are they necessary? Are they unchanging?
Oh, they're very necessary because without logic, you can't live in reality.
Okay, so given that you don't believe in...
Laws of logic are absolutely necessary for one's life to be able to live it healthy and prosperous. Absolutely,
Okay,
I agree.
so given you are an atheist and you don't believe God created you and that you're not in His image, He didn't create us, that the God of the Bible is not who He says He is, given that you reject that, can you tell me how in your atheism you can get immaterial, universal, invariant, necessary laws?
Oh, like we discussed before, I can't answer everything, neither do I try to answer everything. Like my wife, I don't understand everything about her, but I do understand some things. So
Okay,
with
so
that question,
what you're
I would
saying
tell
is
we have these things.
You require
But if you're
right.
asking me
I agree.
how
And see,
it got here, then
I
I
would
can't answer that.
I would
and
say
neither do I desire to answer.
well, I would
It
say
just
what's
comes
interesting.
standard.
What's interesting to show here, I think, for our listeners to listen to, is that you have Christians who would want to have a justification, some sort of a warrant. A justification for, say, our beliefs. We want to make sure we say, well, we believe this, and here's why we believe that. We have a cogent answer, or something would answer, say, the preconditions of intelligibility for, say, laws of logic. That, for example, if I require of Brett that he holds to laws of logic, I really want to give a reason as to why. But what you're saying, Brett, is that you do these things, and it's just that way.
Yeah, first of all, I don't require you to hold to the laws of logic.
You said that they're
I would just say
universal
to
and
you
necessary.
That if you didn't hold to the laws of logic, then we couldn't have a conversation. But if you don't want to hold to the laws of logic or be logical in any sense, then that's okay.
Well, I
It's
certainly
okay,
do. But
Durbin,
see,
for
here's
you. So
the. I think
don't
you're missing where I'm
demand you to
coming
do
from.
anything.
I think you're missing where I'm coming from, Brett. What I'm saying is that you have to have some sort of an answer that satisfies the preconditions that are necessary for intelligibility of, say, laws of logic. Because when you say that they're absolutely necessary, we need to hold to those things, I'm going to say to you, why? And then your answer is, it's just that way. And if I turn that around on you as a Christian and I said, hey, Jesus is God, and you say, why? And I say, it's just that way, Brett. I know you wouldn't accept that. So why would I, as a Christian, accept from you this really, I mean this respectfully towards you, but it's absurd notion that I should be required to hold to universal necessary laws when you can't give me any justification other than you're just doing it?
No, my justification is that why you should hold to logic, reason, is because you need that to get through life.
Why should I want to get through life?
Well, okay, exactly. See, that's the point. If you don't want
using
to
your
life,
atheism, I'm
then
using
you
your
don't have
atheism.
to use logic.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
I'm using your
I'm
atheism.
saying to you, Jeff Durbin, you don't have to.
Yeah.
But if you want to get through a marriage with your wife, you're going to have to use some logic.
Why should I want to get through a marriage with my wife? Is she valuable? Is she valuable in some way? I thought she was an animal.
Yeah, she's an animal, but she's valuable.
She
my
is.
wife is valuable.
Really?
Here's a woman who birthed my kids. We make love. She treats me good. My mother is my mom. I love her. My dad loves me. I love my dad. I love my siblings. I love my kids. They're all extremely valuable.
You know what you
I'm
sound
not
like,
saying
Brett?
because we're animals,
Brett, you
we're
know what
not
you sound
valuable.
like?
No, we're all extremely valuable.
My friend,
with our
Brett.
own little group.
Brett, my friend. Do you know what you sound like? And I mean this with love to you, man. I really do.
Say it.
You know what you
Say
sound
it.
like? You sound like a Christian. You sound
well,
like
that's okay.
You sound
I love
you sound like a Christian.
That's
who,
okay. I
but
love
but
Christians.
and so
Some
what?
Christians are my best friends. So
Yeah.
I love
what I mean
Christians,
is
so
what I mean by that is that I think that you're imaging God here, because what's interesting here is that the way that you are living and asking others to live is consistent with a biblical revelation, but it's inconsistent with your claim. Your claim is that we're just animals, there's no morality, and there's no guidance and no governance to the universe, and yet you live happily as ultimately a theist. But denying that with your profession.
If that's the label you want to put on me, then fine. I would even say, well, if you think I'm a theist, I have no problem with that. I know I'm not a theist, but if that makes you feel better,
no.
Fine.
What I'm saying to you, Brett, I think you're not quite hearing me clearly, or I'm not expressing it in a way that's clear. What I'm saying is that you live practically in the world as though you were standing on the biblical revelation, but what you say, what comes out of your mouth, is inconsistent with the way that you live, because you live well.
Can you be specific?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I would agree with you. Your wife is very valuable. She has dignity and worth and value. She's made in God's image. Love is a genuine thing. It's not just something. It's not just something that we feel, like indigestion or something like that. Laws of logic are necessary and universal. We should hold to those. We should hold others to those things. And yet, in your scheme, we're just the products of a blind process that didn't have us in mind. We're just, for example, Brett, here's a good example. Broccoli is a result of blind, purposeless forces that didn't have them in mind, time and chance acting on matter, and so are you. But you see, given that broccoli is this end result in a long chain of evolutionary processes, and so are you, how come we eat broccoli, but I can't eat you?
Well, first of all, we talked on the phone the other day. You asked me, was I agnostic or atheist? I said I'm agnostic/atheist. I'm an atheist against all religion gods. All gods of all religions are fake. But I'm agnostic as far as there might be an intelligent designer, a higher power, let's say. But that's just agnosticism because you can't prove that there's a God.
So you live practically.
When we spoke that I'm an atheist against your God,
right.
Muslim God, all gods.
That's fine.
Religious gods.
Yeah.
But agnosticism as far as there might be a higher power. Because let me give the reason I told you, and your audience can hear it. I said because there is uniformity, there is logic, there is beauty, there is work, there's all these wonderful things that I 100% agree with.
You're so close,
but at the
Brett.
same
You're
time,
so close.
No one can show me or prove that a God, any God, whether it's a intelligent,
I'll do it right now.
God,
I'll do it because I saw your video. I saw your video. I saw your video. You say that often.
Something created.
You say that often. I saw your video. We have limited time here to speak in this. I'm sorry I'm cutting in, but we have limited time in segments here,
Okay.
Brett. I saw your video, and you say that often. You say, no one can prove to me. You have to prove it. And in your video, I think it was 20 minutes long, I think you said prove it probably like 50 or 60 times. Prove it.
Yeah, I did.
Prove it. Prove it. Prove it. Okay, so ready? I'm going to do that for you right now on the show, okay? You say, Christians, prove it. And so you want to ask me that question? You want to go ahead and ask me, or should I just throw it out at you?
Okay, prove it.
Okay, prove it. Okay, you just did. You just imaged God. You just did it right there, Brett. Because watch this. And Brett, you're so close, man. I'm going to be praying for you, man, that God opens your eyes because you're so close. I love you too, man. I'm telling you, you're so close. Because watch this. Brett, please understand this. When you say prove it, man. When you say prove it, Brett. Man, you're so close. When you say prove it, what you're displaying there, and when you say prove it, is that you are living in the world as though there was uniformity in nature, that tomorrow is going to be like today, right?
There is.
And
I
know that. I'm going there with you, Brett.
Uniformity in nature.
Brett, I'm going there with you.
That's what makes me an agnostic as far as intelligence.
And I'm going there with you, but what I'm showing you is this.
We agree on this.
Brett,
there's no dispute on this.
Brett, I know that. I'm going there. So if you don't interrupt me just for a moment, let me get this out, okay?
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So what I'm saying is this, is that only God's revelation can give you the necessary preconditions for what you're demanding. When you say to me, Jeff, prove it, I say, I like when you say that, because that's consistent with God's revelation, that we should use our logic, we should use our minds, that we should appeal to the universe as something that's uniform and rationally intelligible. But what I'm saying is this, is that, Brett, if you don't start with the God of this revelation, you don't have any basis for asking somebody to prove anything, because all you have is a universe that is chaos, time and chance acting on matter, because you don't have any justification for believing, although you do, for believing that the next 10 seconds will be like the past, although you do live like that. If you don't start with this God, Brent, you don't know that the next 5 seconds, 20 minutes, 20 years will be like the past. You don't know that you have a universe that is uniform. You don't have any intelligible justification for what you're asking of somebody. When you say, prove it, I want to say, Brent, once again, you're acting like a Christian. And I want to call you as a friend to please just understand and see that you're imaging God all over your life, Brett. You're imaging him at every moment you open your mouth. And the struggle is that you're trying to reason to get to God. But what you've missed the whole time, my friend, is that you've been standing on him the whole time. And it's not going to be until you look down at your feet and you see that you have to stand on this God and start with him to make sense of anything you're saying or doing. I want to say this to you, Brett, you, like me, are in the image of God, and your problem is not lack of intelligence, lack of evidence, my friend. Your problem is, like me before Christ, you're a rebel against the King. And I just want you to look at your feet, Brett.
I have looked at my feet, and the Christian God is fiction. Your God you speak of doesn't exist.
Fictional things are okay in your worldview.
Okay, hang on one second.
Fictional things are just fine.
Make certain of that, because Jesus said, according to your Bible, that he said to the disciples in John that these things, these miracles I do, you'll be able to do if you believe. You can't do it. If you look at the end of Mark, it says this will prove that you believe. Handle snakes, You can't handle the black mamba snake without dying.
Well,
Given,
okay, let me answer that. Brett, we have limited time, so I'll answer. I'll answer that. I'll answer that first. Well, first and foremost, just understand you have to read the Bible in context. I wouldn't be allowed to pull out a thing in your book and just use it against you that was out of context. You wouldn't like that, and I don't think we should do it with the Bible. But what you do see in the first century, as the close of the Old Covenant is happening before 70 A.D., a lot of promises were made of what was going to take place between the time period of Jesus' resurrection and the fall of Jerusalem in 70 A.D., and you do see the apostles raising the dead. You do see them healing the sick. You do see them being bit by snakes and not being destroyed by them. And you see that before the fall of the Old Covenant, which was actually a promise of what was going to take place as signs before the time of the Old Covenant passing away. And so that actually did take place. It would be sort of an abuse of the text, Brent, to actually try to apply that to future generations today and say that, well, I demand that of you if you don't show it. But I'm going to show you one thing, really important. We have 2 minutes left, so I got to go faster, so please forgive me, Brent. But miracles aren't a problem for me. Miracles are a problem for you. Because you see, when you say miracles as though that were some sort of a problem, I want to say this. You're acting like a Christian again, because you're acting like the universe is uniform and miracles are an odd thing. That's my worldview. When I see a miracle, I say, that's weird. The nature is uniform. God promises to carry it along. Miracles are odd. Man, that's trippy. But in your worldview, you don't have a God governing anything. In your worldview, there is no ultimate standard or basis or justification or warrant for uniformity in nature. And so in your worldview, miracles should be happening all the time. It's not strange that a man rises from the dead in your worldview. It's not strange that somebody turns water into wine in your worldview. That is strange in mine. And so miracles aren't a problem for me. They're a problem for you. And
well, hang on. You've misassessed my whole worldview. When you keep saying that time, chance, man, I don't believe that. I keep saying that. No.
You believe in yes. I'm saying. Yeah, Brett. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. No, what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is this. No, Brett. What I'm saying to you is this. Brett. What I'm saying to you is this. I understand that you are appealing to uniformity and that you believe it. I understand that. For the record, I understand it. What I'm saying is that your rejection of your Creator leaves you with no justification for what you're doing.
Jeff Durbin.
You just did. You just did.
Audience, you can't prove it.
You just did. Brett, you just did. You're doing it again. You did it again. You just did it again.
You can't prove
I just
it.
did.
And you did.
Brent,
as proof. Argument is never proof.
Brett, you just proved it. Brett, the show's wrapping up. And so I want to say this to you. You just did it. When you asked me for proof, you imaged God because you stood on uniformity in nature, which your worldview cannot justify. You have no God, no governance, no guidance. Thanks, Brett. Bless you. See you next time, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Redemption Radio, a Christian counseling ministry. We appreciate your thoughts and comments. Join us again next week when our hosts and guests share their experience and knowledge as they explore everyday challenges facing today's Christians. Redemption Radio is sponsored by Calvary Addiction Recovery Center, a leader in faith-based recovery for over 47 years. To reach Calvary Addiction and Recovery Center off-air, please call 602-279-1468. Beginning the recovery process is as simple as a phone call. That's 602-279-1468.